This is Real World News, which is a journalism program produced by the students at the Queensland University of Technology. My name is Darcy Edgerton. In a Queensland premiere, QUT School of Creative Practice students are performing a post-apocalyptic play next month. The play, titled Mr. Burns, is a dark comedy that poses a sobering vision of an American future. Here to tell us more is actor and star in the show, Lucy Buchanan. Lucy, thanks for joining us here. Do you want to tell me a bit about your play?
Yeah, sure. So Mr. Burns, a post-apocalyptic play, was written by Anne Washburn, who's an American playwright, in 2012. The play is set in a post-apocalyptic America. So what's happened is the nuclear power plants have all shut down, the grid has shut down, all electricity has stopped. So the world, well, America is kind of in a state of chaos, and people are struggling to survive. And Act 1, set in 2021, follows this group of young people who all meet together in the forest in upstate New York. And they're recalling a Simpsons episode, which is bringing them like lots of joy and comfort and a bit of distraction from what's really going on. And then Act 2 is set 7 years later, so in 2028. And it's interesting to explore how they've taken this Simpsons episode and it sort of becomes their livelihoods. I don't want to give too much away, but and then Act 3 is set in 2103, so 75 years after Act 2. Yeah. And the episode has sort of transformed to this new level again. So the playwright has very cleverly interweaved this theme of like storytelling and how that human instinct to tell stories, to make sense of reality, to have relief from dark times, to provide meaning on historical events, how it's storytelling that helps us to make sense of the world around us.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting. So how do you think the changing social climate has affected theatre and the film industry?
Yeah, I think I don't have a lot of hands-on experience myself, but from what I can gather from interviews and all this other stuff, is that following the Me Too movement and then in conjunction with the recent Black Lives Matter movement, is that there's more space to talk about these issues, to talk about gender issues and race issues that have existed within this industry. And I believe that people these days are more open to having those uncomfortable conversations, which is really great because we need to have those conversations in a rehearsal room, on a set. We need to be vigilant of these things so that we can continue to move forward to a more equitable future.
I completely agree with that. Yeah. Why do you think the use of The Simpsons in this production is relatable for so many people?
Well, The Simpsons, whether it's The Simpsons that the audience has actually watched and known and loved, it's a metaphor for any other TV show that you've watched and loved growing up. So whether that's Friends, or I don't know, if it takes you back to thinking about Thomas the Tank Engine, or Bear in the Big Blue House, Play School.
That brings back memories.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever it is, Doctor Who, I loved that growing up, right?
Yeah, me too.
It's all about that notion of nostalgia, and particularly in the first act, that's what it's about. And, you know, because humour helps us to get through really rough times.
It's a coping mechanism, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's with everything, really.
Yeah, exactly.
So how would you compare themes of isolation in your play to what we experienced during the COVID-19 lockdown, as an example?
Well, in the first act of the play in particular, there's no electricity, right? So no one knows if their loved ones are still alive in different states. So everyone has these notebooks where they keep names of people they've met, and everyone has a list of 10 names of people they want to find. So every time someone new comes along, you ask them, have you seen this person, and this person? They'll tell you if they have. And you write down their name as well, so that if someone else comes along and they're like, have you seen this person? You're like, oh, yep, I've got them in my notebook.
Wow, that is so interesting,
Yeah,
isn't it?
that's how, because there are no phones, there's no Zoom, there's nothing.
Of course.
So that sense of isolation is absolutely prevalent for these characters. And reflecting on COVID-19 has been helpful for me as an actor to be like, actually, during that time, what I craved was connection, was my family, and was that nostalgia. So I would watch a lot of Friends and a lot of things that made me feel really good in that time. So that's, I guess, what the Simpsons episode brings these characters. They have a sense of warmth when they are so isolated.
That's awesome. That's so relatable, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what has changed in the industry post-COVID? How do you think people have adapted to these changes in the acting industry?
Yeah, I think that now that we have Zoom and people have sort of figured out and like discovered more flexibility, discovered the level of flexibility that the internet gives us. You know, people are able to work from home more these days, and the same goes for actors. So you don't have to live in Sydney or Melbourne to be getting jobs and to be going to interviews, because you can film an audition tape for a film from anywhere and send it through the internet.
It's so accessible, hey?
Yeah, exactly. Or you can do an audition via Zoom if you can't make the in-person audition. There's much more flexibility.
So good to see, hey?
Yeah, exactly.
Is there anything else you would like to add?
Come and see the show. But that's it. Otherwise, thank you for having me. I really appreciate coming on and being able to talk about this. And yeah.
Awesome. I can't wait to watch it. So thank you for joining us here today, Lucy. I really loved talking to you. The show is premiering June 2nd and ends on June 5th. Tickets are still available and can be purchased through the QT website. I'm Darcy Edgerton for Real World News. See you next time.